Okay, welcome to part one of our digestion lecture. Hopefully you have the handout. If not, you need to know everything written in yellow. So I am going to not really read the slides to you, but talk about extra stuff. So you'll need to pause the video, write down the important things, and then hopefully what I'm saying will help you remember stuff or give you some tricks to learn. So number one, you will need to be able to label lots of organs here. If you did not pick up the handout, I recommend printing it off of my Google Classroom. But our digestive system is a closed system. It is one long tube that does not open up into the outside part of our body. Nutrients are absorbed through cells in our small intestine. Water is absorbed through our large intestine, as well as some vitamins. Otherwise, anything that you eat goes right out the other end, which keeps us very safe. Make sure you know the main functions. Couple things to define. Remember, physical change just means you're changing the shape or size. A chemical change, you're making a new substance. So we will talk about both changes happening to our food along the way. Specifically, how do we digest those three macromolecules that we need? So the lipids, proteins, and fats. I will talk about homeostasis as we go, but lots of test questions on this slide. Some fun facts: your digestive system is insanely long and it takes a long time. If you want to know how long it takes for you to digest, we can't digest that outer covering on a kernel of corn. So eat some corn, watch for it at the other end, which is kind of gross, but you should see it come out, and then you can count the hours to see how long it took your body to digest that food. All right, the mouth. Pretty simple here. We physically break the food into smaller pieces. Amylase is our first enzyme. We'll talk about enzymes in a future lecture, but enzymes are catalysts. They make reactions go faster. So by having an enzyme help you break down a macromolecule, that macromolecule simply gets broken down faster. If we didn't have these enzymes, our food would digest, but it would take a long time and you would probably smell like a garbage can. So we need to learn about these enzymes. The first one is AMY. AMY lives in your mouth, specifically made in your salivary glands. And I remember that it is amylase because girls like to talk, which is kind of stereotypical. So now I want you to pretend my name is Amy, and I am talking a lot in my videos. I love donuts. So Amy likes carbohydrates. She lives in your mouth. She likes to talk. There's our first chemical digestion. If you put a cracker on your tongue, you'll notice that it does dissolve. So our salivary glands are what makes saliva. A couple cool things. If you can gleek, you have an advanced muscle under your tongue and you can push on this salivary gland and squirt that saliva out of your mouth. I can't do it. Your saliva is also personal to you. Everybody's saliva is slightly acidic, and that acidity of our saliva allows different bacteria to live or not live in our mouth. It controls how much plaque ends up being built on your teeth, and it gives us our bad morning breath. So that saliva, because of the bacteria that will get to live in your mouth, overnight when you're not swallowing, that bacteria stays in here and your bacteria is personal to you, and you wake up with bacteria breath. So it's really not your bad breath, it's the bacteria that live in your mouth feasting on whatever food you might have left there or whatever plaque is on your teeth, and then whatever that bacteria smells like is what you smell like. Lots of other cool things about saliva, and let's move on. All right, the pharynx, not much to know here. It is the spot in the back of your throat where both air and water go. I want you to know this name because the pharynx separates into the esophagus, which is the food tube, and the trachea, which is your air tube. The voice box is in the top of the trachea called your larynx, and your voice sounds different than other people's because of the width of your voice box and the thickness of the fibers that are in there. So food goes down your esophagus, so it's kind of silly when people get laryngitis, which is an illness of their larynx. Why would you drink or eat cough drops, sorry, because that food should go down your esophagus. Anyway, here's a good story to help you remember. The epiglottis is a cartilage covering that closes down over your trachea when you swallow. When this closes, it prevents you from choking. The way that it works is, imagine this guy swallowing food. It hits the top of the epiglottis, which shuts it. Also, the epiglottis is attached to the bottom of your tongue muscle, so when your tongue pushes food back, it also helps that epiglottis shut. Here's story number one. I almost died. I was chewing on a super fatty piece of food. I had to take a breath. While I was taking that breath, the food that I couldn't seem to break into smaller pieces slipped into my airway. and I started choking. So try not to eat while you also have to breathe, which means don't talk with food in your mouth because talking requires air, food requires swallowing. You could get mixed up and food could go here. Laughing is actually very dangerous. So I was at a party with just dinner party with some friends at their house. I had this fatty piece of meat. I took a breath, maybe I laughed. I honestly don't remember. My epiglottis did not shut. The food did not go down the esophagus. It went into my trachea and blocked my windpipe. So I was suffocating. You don't know when somebody's choking because they can't make any noise. If food goes down your esophagus, you can usually say, I'm choking, I feel okay, whatever. But if food gets stuck here, you can't make sound. So this is that universal sign for choking. Luckily, my friend did the Heimlich. That fatty piece of meat went flying out of my mouth, flew across the room. We all cried, and the party was ruined thanks to me. So, saving your life here. Don't talk with food in your mouth. And especially do not laugh while you're eating. I actually get really mad at my kids if they laugh while they're eating. So the epiglottis is part of our digestive system because it prevents us from choking, but it's just a flap of tissue. Here's a picture of your esophagus. It's a tube that goes from your mouth down to your stomach, and that's all it does. It's just a connection point. And it also is full of muscles that squeeze the food down. So if you don't chew your food well, it will still push it down. Also, that peristalsis, or that squeezing action, is strong enough that you can actually eat or drink when you are upside down. Okay, here we are in your stomach. Super important organ, and it's really big. Food stays there a long time. We have physical and chemical digestion here. Your stomach is a muscle that will squeeze and churn your food. Your stomach walls also make hydrochloric acid. That hydrochloric acid helps break down the food. There's another chemical into smaller pieces. And mostly, though, the reason we have that acid there is to kill any bacteria or germs that we might have eaten. So think of all the nasty things on your fingers or that might be on your food that you put into your mouth. That hydrochloric acid will kill most of it, not all of it. So breaks down our food and kills germs. That acid is so strong it would burn a hole in the carpet if you were to dump it on the carpet. Your stomach doesn't get a hole burnt in it because it is lined with mucus. When you throw up, that puke is often pretty yellow. That's because you're also puking up a lot of mucus. You've also noticed when you throw up, it burns your throat. That's because that acid from your stomach is coming up in that puke, and your esophagus is not lined with mucus. So that acid's going to burn the sides of that muscle lining. It feels like heartburn. It's actually esophagus burn. So also when you throw up, that acid will decay your teeth. So if you feel well enough, make sure you brush your teeth as soon as you can after you get sick so that you can get that acid off of your enamel. But that acid is super important for digestion and for killing germs. Your stomach also makes pepsin. It's actually called pepsinase, but there are lots of pepsinase enzymes, so we're just going to call them all pepsin. P for pepsin, P for protein. So pepsin digests proteins in your stomach. I'm going to save your life again. Your stomach wall also is the first place alcohol and medications like aspirin, Tylenol, ibuprofen are absorbed. So when you take Tylenol or ibuprofen, you might have noticed it works within about a half an hour. That's because it's getting absorbed right through your stomach wall and going into your blood. Alcohol does the same thing. If you drink a lot of alcohol quickly, and you shouldn't be drinking alcohol at all because your brain is still developing and we don't want you to have a bad brain. Talk about that later. But if you drink quickly, lots of that alcohol will get right into your bloodstream immediately, and it will start wreaking havoc on your body before you even feel the effects of that alcohol. So a lot of people die from alcohol poisoning because they drink so quickly that they get that poison, which alcohol is, flowing through their body before their brain realizes really what they've done. So my babysitter when I was a kid, her older brother died on his 21st birthday from alcohol poisoning because he did that. He drank too fast, it got into his body. His friends didn't know the signs of alcohol poisoning, and he didn't make it. It was really scary. So don't drink alcohol, number one. Someday when you probably will, don't drink it quickly so that you don't poison your body. And know that heartburn is just acid going up your stomach, and make sure you brush your teeth after you throw up. Here's the worst way to die, which was another promise that I had in the notes I would tell you. A knife wound to the stomach would open up this wall and let all that acid pour into your body cavity. So if you get stabbed, you're supposed to leave the knife there until you can get medical attention. But if you stab somebody in the stomach and pull that knife out, you've opened that wound, all that acid will pour out here, and that acid will start digesting all of your organs that are outside of your stomach. So that is the worst way to die. Couple fun facts. Pepsi Cola was actually marketed at the beginning as a digestive aid. It is named after pepsin. Remember, pepsin is that enzyme that digests protein. Pepsi Cola does not digest protein. It was a big marketing scam. Same thing with this gum, marketed as a digestive aid. So the word Pepsi comes from pepsin, which is in your stomach, which digests P for protein. All right, your liver is more a circulatory organ because it filters your blood, but your liver also makes bile. So here's our next chemical digestion. Food doesn't go in your liver, it simply makes the bile. I remember bile because Billy is fat and Billy digests fats. My brother's name is Bill, he is not fat, but whatever. Billy digests fats. Billy is made in the liver, and Billy likes to eat liver. So remember all these weird things about Billy. He is fat and he ate a lot of liver, but bile is made in your liver and it digests fats. Lots of other things that livers do. They're super important, and we'll talk about that later if you want. Otherwise, just know liver makes bile. That liver is stored in a sac called the gallbladder, which is right next to your liver. Your body makes a lot of bile every day. It stores it right here so that it can secrete it into the top part of your small intestine, which is called your duodenum or duodenum. It's pronounced both ways. And that bile gets secreted here to digest fat. So gallbladder is simply a storage tank for bile so that you can digest fat. If you get gallstones, you might have your gallbladder removed, which is fine because our bodies are amazing and your body will adjust. Right after having your gallbladder removed, you won't be able to eat a lot of fat, but your liver will learn how to compensate, and it will just start making more bile on a regular basis so that you can go back to your normal diet. Okay, that bile duct, just know that's the name of the tube that connects the gallbladder to the duodenum. It also passes through your pancreas and connects to the pancreatic duct. So the pancreas also empties into your duodenum. Pancreas is super important, and this is our last organ for the day, but the pancreas is that feather-like organ. It actually hides right behind your stomach, so your stomach would be in front of this. And your pancreas makes lots of enzymes to complete all macromolecule digestion. So the pancreas makes enzymes, they go through that pancreatic duct, and they get secreted into the duodenum, and carbohydrates, fats, and proteins all get digested by pancreatic enzymes in your top of your small intestine. So this will be important when I show you information on gastric bypass and different types of weight loss surgeries that people do. So lots of digestion happens in this top part of your small intestine because of the bile and because of pancreatic juices. You cannot live without your pancreas. Pancreatic cancer is very dangerous because it's hard to detect. This pancreas is tucked away kind of in the middle of your body cavity, right behind your stomach. So if you have a tumor there, it's hard to see and it's hard to feel. But if that pancreas isn't working, you're not making lots of digestive enzymes. More importantly, you're not making bicarbonate. So remember, your stomach is full of acid. That acid gets squirted with the food right into that duodenum. But your duodenum is not coated with mucus. So the pancreas makes bicarbonate, which goes through the pancreatic duct into your duodenum, and it neutralizes that acid. If you didn't have bicarbonate, okay, if you didn't have a pancreas to make bicarbonate, when that food from your stomach went into your small intestine, all that acid would dissolve your small intestines. It's not going to go very well for you, all right? So pancreas, as far as digestion is concerned, makes lots of enzymes to finish all types of food digestion. It also makes bicarbonate to neutralize stomach acid. It also makes insulin. Insulin is secreted right into your blood. It goes to your cells, and it teaches your cells to open up a protein channel to let in glucose. If you have type 1 diabetes, it's because your body does not make insulin. So you have to take shots of insulin so that your cells can take in glucose. Homeostasis, lots of stuff here. Basically, your body makes all enzymes. It makes bile or secretes bile, and it makes insulin on an as-needed basis. So the more protein you eat, the more pepsin. The more sugar you eat, the more insulin. And that is the end of part 1.